All right. Welcome. It is Whiskey Friday. It is now, hey, April Fools. So this is actually really a show. But today, we've got my man Avram from New York and Curtis, as always, the lovely, talented co-host. What are we? Champagne and Bubbles? Is that our names? Right?
Yeah, I forget. Oh yeah, you're Champagne.
I'm Champagne. So we are rocking the Whiskey Friday, and today we're talking about spring cleaning for our business and really how to streamline things. And I'm gonna introduce sort of what I'm drinking first. I'm super excited because I was able to find some of this at the liquor store, my friends.
What?
The
I don't even get it.
Royal Canadian Northern Harvest. This was the one that just won the Whiskey of the Year award for the world.
Okay.
And they sold out. They sold out in I think a week. And so they couldn't get them anywhere in the liquor stores here. So I finally found one today, and I just took a sip. Delicious.
Where'd you find it?
Just on Yates at the market there. But anyways, it's really good. It's nice. And then I was reading some reviews, and this one won in the world, but then the Lot 40 is the one that won in Canada. So I'm going to check out that one as well. But that's what I'm drinking today, Northern Harvest. What about you, Curtis? What do you got going on?
I have something different today. I've got I don't even know how to pronounce it properly, but the Glen Glaçau.
Ooh, you fancy.
It's a revival. I thought it would be good for the theme and stuff like that for today. But really cool. Scott's supposed to be something completely different that I've never tasted before. So we'll see. I'll maybe touch base with you again and see how that worked out.
Cool. I love it, man. That's awesome. And Avram, what about you, man?
I just have water.
The best. That's what our whiskey's made out of.
Yeah, whiskey's really good in water, actually.
Yeah, whiskey and water is really good. So we'll be whiskey, you be water. We'll just make this thing happen. Now, so today we're talking about spring cleaning. I think it's a really good time. It's now past the time of everybody doing their New Year's resolutions and failing at those. And so now we're looking at where we're at in our lives and our business and say, what can we do to go kick some ass and make stuff happen? So let's talk to our new guest, our new dude. I've met Avram through a couple different groups, the Mindset by Design. He's been hanging out with me on the Sales Hero Academy stuff. And we had a really good chat yesterday. He's starting to do some spring cleaning in his business. He's got some vision, some clarity. So maybe why don't you start off and just talk to us about what you're working on and how you're starting to streamline and do cool shit.
Sure. So, I've been doing a lot of thinking and spring cleaning with regards to my business. And, what I have been doing in the past was basically I created a job for myself. Okay? So, I come from the technical background. I'm in the telecom business. So way I started my business was I helped telecom vendors do installations of phone systems and programming. And what I found was that I'm doing a lot of busy work and not really getting anywhere with my business. I'm not growing. I'm just, kind of on my own for 9 years and not really having any movement. So I took stock of what it is I'm doing, what it is I'd love to do. And I started to cut out, the bottom feeders. So, the people that call me all the time, ask me lots of questions, don't pay a lot.
Yeah.
And that's freed me up a little bit. I've kept the higher paying ones so that I keep some momentum. And I reached this point, because I'm with the Mindset by Design group. So a lot of it has to do with mindset, right? So if you have the right mindset and you're focused on growth and you're focused on business, now all of a sudden you start to realize that, hey, I haven't really been aligned with my vision. My vision was to build a business. Instead, I'm doing a job. So what could I do better?
Exactly.
So then I started to focus on some ideas that I've had for many years, and I just kind of ignored those ideas. And I started acting on them. And one of the things that I read about on the Sales Hero Facebook page is there's a lot of talk about the reticular activating system, the RAS system, and all of a sudden I started noticing opportunities. Like people started coming to my life that were connected to certain opportunities that I'm focused on. So now I'm building I'm building this business model, this managed services offering, which has the potential to become huge. And I'm actually working with several people now. We're looking to put together a team to build this. And then in addition to that, I came across a cloud offering. So, everybody's into cloud computing, and in telephony, it's really the same thing. So now I'm selling cloud telephony. It's something that I didn't really consider, just 6 months ago.
Cool. So let's bring it tight. So what I'm hearing is the first thing that you're saying is on the RAS. Anybody that's not sure, RAS. We talked RAS before, Curtis, right? The reticular activating system. It's that whole idea that if you're in a crowded room, you can hear your name being said, or anything that just kind of pays attention. So we do lots of stuff on how to sort of prime our minds for that. So that's one thing that you've done, is to just figure out what are those things that you're looking for, and all of a sudden now it's not that. I don't really believe so much in the law of attraction. We can argue about that all we want, but I think that whole idea of priming your mind to say, here's the stuff I need to pay attention to, is a really good sort of first step on spring cleaning, where I'm going to come back to you on that one too. What about Curtis? What about some things that you've got going on your spring cleaning? Because you're working on a bunch of projects. How are you getting sort of tightened up on the stuff that you're doing?
Well, that's where I am tightening things up on, is the fact that, I do tend to have a lot of projects on the go at one time. And when you have a lot of projects, it gets to the point where, you can get to the point where you're kind of flapping in the wind and floundering about really keeping it, like you said, keeping it tight, keeping it focused, and really being efficient and successful at the small things that you're doing. So, really, for me, especially right now, it's really about priorities, really identifying priorities. I definitely connect with what Abram was saying with regards to, as he had said, kind of the bottom feeder aspect to his business, which is, really just kind of the high maintenance clients. It also can be high maintenance projects. It can be high maintenance, fundraising. It can be high maintenance responsibilities. So, really just bringing that into focus over the next little while. I've got a few things to share about that.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's a key point there, Curtis, is the whole idea of the high maintenance projects as well. I mean, that's the big thing that I've been looking at for my business too, is to say, I've got all these projects, and I talk to people all the time, and everybody says, well, how are we doing? Oh, I'm just so busy. And that's, I think, what everybody's using as this like badge of honor these days, is that, I'm so busy. Who could be the busiest? And so I think the spring cleanings is to say, fuck it, let's pick something and get something done, because I think that's what's causing a lot of people stress, because there are so many, especially in business, there's so many places we can be right now, that the next shiny thing is what's sort of pulling us in different directions, right? What's
the single tasking movement?
Dude, so we, exactly. The whole multitask, we talk about that all the time, is, what's one thing that you guys are doing that is allowing you to focus on one thing at a time? What's some stuff that you really get tightened up on that?
I started to make some changes in how I do things.
Okay.
So I used to have a to-do list, and I learned this from Andy Murphy. So I had, my notebook over here, and I, just cross off tasks. And then what ends up happening is I jam all these things into one day, and you just can't do it all in one day. So then I have like 50 tasks left undone, and I shove it into the next day. But the next day I've got a whole bunch of things I need to do.
Yeah. So
what I started to do was I started to physically put things on the calendar. So if I need to make a phone call, I stick it on there. At 9:30, I'm making this phone call. If I need to, just clean my desk, do paperwork, I put that on there. Not saying that it's perfect, and I do shuffle things around here and there, but by and large, I've noticed that my head is a lot clearer, and I get a lot less overwhelmed because of that.
Yeah, that's a huge one. We Andy and I talk about that quite a bit too. Is the whole idea of don't have to-do lists. To-do lists will kill you. And I know, hopefully, I think Mike might join us as well. Mike Vardy, he's the productivityist, and he's a guy that really knows how to clean up that calendar. That's what he does for a living for people. But that's the whole idea of to say, you know, don't just have a list of things to do, because that always expands, and then you don't know what to prioritize. So put things more as a network of projects, figure out those priorities, and then you can only decide each day, did I do what I said I was going to do or not? Not, oh man, I'm just busy. Because I'm a notorious for like sticky notes. I have an idea, and then it goes on a sticky note, and then sticky note, and then all of a sudden I have all these sticky notes. And then I just did it the other day. I have my stack of sticky notes. I'm like, okay, schedule all this shit in there, because that's what happened. It's sort of, and the thing like we're saying is, we don't want to punish ourselves for a poor system. We just have to have this kind of ebb and flow. So I know for me, I don't punish myself. I go, I got all these sticky notes. Now I know once it gets past this certain point, now I schedule it all in, because I know I have some bad habits that I try and overcome, because it's what I do, right? So anyways, that's my thought there. What about you, K-Man?
I guess the only thing I would add to that is, I do like lists in a certain context. You know, I do like it, but I think that what we're saying is probably a very similar thing, in that you do kind of have to create a list at first, but don't let it be just this constant, like, growing, living list. That just ends up being a badge of dishonor and shame and guilt and judgment in your life. But, you know, with that list and starting out with that list right off the start, you know, I find it really helpful to not only do my business list and my tasks and things I'd like to get done, but also have another separate list that's just as long and has as all my personal priorities and all my personal goals and everything else that I would like to accomplish, and then have it so that it's a balanced schedule plan with incorporating both of those, and really honoring your space and your balance with regards to your business and your personal. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really, really important, especially for just being in, you know, it's just like a magnet, right? You have to have a positive and opposite negative charge, and it has to be equally balanced within those two systems. Otherwise, you just lose the power of that, you know, those physics around what a magnet is. And I really find that when you're dealing with people are looking for someone that has a very well balanced personal and business life. They are attracted to somebody that's not just saying, "Oh, I'm just busy. I'm busy all the time," and you know, because that's, you know, busy is. I think we talked about this last time. I mean, busy is the root word of business. So if you're not busy, then you're not in business. That was what you signed up to be, is busy. So yes, you're a business person. You're a busyness person. That is the reality of business. So if you're busy, that's great. That means you're in business. If you're not busy, that means you've failed at your business, and then you have to go back to the drawing board and get busy again. But busy is just a state of being. You know, all these priorities that we do, we have to surround ourselves with people that are able to, you know, have wings in their lives to be able to bring us up and be able to be more efficient and have proper priorities in life.
Love it. Hey, I'm going to try something. I've been goofing around. You can see me moving around. I'm moving my camera because I had an idea. So now you guys can pay attention. This is one of those things where I'm trying to figure out, some best practices, and I'm going to get into that about cause and effect. But I've been wanting to try this for a while, because in my screen, how about that? Let's go like this and there. Let's hold on. Just pay attention. Hold on. Everybody hang on a sec.
I'm not feeling the same earthquake you are.
Hold on, Curtis. Hold on, baby. Here we go.
Like we are. Where are you from, Avraham?
New York.
New York. Okay, cool.
Oh, that's not what I was hoping. I want to do this. I'm trying to do where I can put my camera. It's too low. It's not good. I wanted to try and put my camera like in the middle of my screen, because I don't like when I'm like not looking at you guys, right? So I was hoping to do it like right here, so that when I'm looking at Curtis, I'm much more like looking at you. You know what I'm saying? It's
so tough. It's a weird thing on this. I don't know. We have to get like the poker glasses where it just looks like you're looking at.
Something like. Anyways, I wanted to try that. Didn't work. So there we go. Spring cleaning. That didn't work. Now,
I feel kind of sick to my stomach now.
What's that? No, how was that? Was that good? Was that, you guys should have a VR, like virtual reality tour of like that was how my mind goes, just like that all the time.
No, I was just looking on Facebook. I was just looking at a video from that virtual reality I forgot the name of that company where you put these glasses on and it's like you transport yourself somewhere.
Yeah, I did when I was last year. I went to PGA event in Wisconsin, and Samsung had a tent on their virtual reality stuff, and you got to go and like golf with these guys. It was pretty cool. They put you in this like this suspended chair, and Luke got to look around and looked everywhere. It was pretty cool. It was hooked right up to your phone. It was pretty cool. Now here's something that that I think a lot of us don't do is we get just talking about what Curtis is saying on the sort of being busy and the busyness. Is sort of taking a step back and looking at our business sort of from a cause and effect perspective to say, you know, like if we say, here's where we want to be, here's what we're trying to accomplish, and then work that backwards to the activities and tasks. I think what we end up doing is I know I do it lots, is we come up with ideas and then we start to try and implement ideas. And it's like that round, you know, that square peg in a round hole kind of idea. And we start to add more and more and more. But when we sort of take a step back and say, what are we really trying to do? So for your business, you know, where am I trying to go with things? What is that, you know, what's that market I'm going after? What's my program? You know, what's my offer? And say, now, if we also go from like our long-term vision, we work backwards and say, now, what's the stuff I have to do each day that's moving me towards that? And are we budgeting our time to say, I can spend, you know, I want to spend, say, 75% of my time going after that specific thing. And that's where you set those projects and stuff and give yourself that flexibility for the, you know, the other 25% of time to piss around and do all the other things you want to do. But I think what's happened is, I know for me, I have a number of businesses, a number of projects, and they're all trying to take my time. They're all trying to take my mind space. And so I feel like they all have priority. But I think I was reading somewhere the word priorities wasn't actually a word until like the early 1900s, because priority was a singular word, but then somebody just invented because of multitasking. So my whole thought there is that, you know, how are you guys saying, okay, here's the one thing that I'm trying to accomplish, and am I going towards that, or am I completely just spending just a small percentage of my time on that one thing, and can I flip those ratios? Maybe that's kind of my long, drawn out question.
To establish what is a prioritize.
Yeah, prioritize.
Prioritize. Yeah, I think that you know that it does change a lot of thinking, and we have talked about that a little bit on this show too, that, you know, multitasking is kind of the norm. I think it's a bit of a, I don't want to say a trap, but I think it gets to be a habit, and it gets to be kind of an expectation from a client perspective, to the point where they're like, you know, you do need to be constantly getting back to me at any hour of the day, that you should be thinking about business every second of your existence, that there is nothing more important in the world that you could be doing right now other than maybe getting back to my email. But that's not the truth, and it's not. I don't think it's in the long term. It's possible, and I also don't think it's very authentic and very credible to to put yourself under those guises of being able to be multitasker. It used to be kind of a badge of honor, and I don't really. When I think of multitasking now, I think of just people that just go out there and hardly get anything done. And I'd rather be with a single tasker that I know when we talk about this, that it's going to be completely like now till the end. Everything that needs to be done with that is done, and then he moves on. Or she moves on. And because especially with the transition, I mean, it takes so long for you to get refocused on your other task that, you know, those 20 minutes of refocus time, it just adds up and adds up and adds up. And then you just become ineffective.
Yeah, totally.
It's that refocus. That's a killer right there.
Yeah. Well, that's why, you know, I was telling somebody today, the whole Sales Hero Academy that we just launched, was something that was sitting on my to-do list for a while. We kind of launched it in like August, but didn't finish it. So it was like having, you know, somebody like a relationship you're ashamed of that you don't want to like tell people. It's like, how's that going? It's like, oh, it's okay. You know, you can't meet them. And so it's like kind of like that thing. And so it sat there, you know, 75% of the way done for about 4 or 5 months, until I think it was only a month ago that I said, you know what? Let's just get it done. And so, you know, the way to do it was to make, well, one, make the commitment to it. And then two, just schedule it out and say, you know what, for this day, these next 2 days, I'm going to finish these tasks and let's get those done. So what I usually do is I'll just shut my computer down, restart it, have 0 tabs open, and have my computer like just like in our mind. That's what I always think of my mind is like my computer, that I can hear the fan getting hotter and hotter and hotter because I have so many tabs open in my mind. Just shut them all down and do one thing. So I turn my phone off except for emergencies. And Curtis and you and I talked about this last time too. But just being able to go after this thing, and man, what a weight that goes off your shoulders when you finish that one thing. And now all of a sudden that thing's done. And the other stuff that you had on your mind can actually feed into it in a much more automatic way rather than all of these open loops. And we talked about last time with all the open loops. And so for me, that was kind of a spring cleaning to say, okay, that's done. What else are we going to do? And now let's look at our business and pick one project rather than, we have all this to do. Let's pick one project and really nail it and spend a couple days just getting it done.
The other thing too is, I think spring for me it's like, I love it. It's just such a great energy. There's lots going on. People are, just more excited about being out in nature and just having outdoor life. And it seems like the city kind of comes alive. But I think the other thing too is I think businesses start to come alive too, and people's ideas start coming alive, which is amazing and it's great. But I think that riding that enthusiasm with a really balanced planning and reasonable promises approach is really important. A lot of people are coming right now with new ideas and new projects and being really excited about what they're up to with new opportunities. And that's awesome. That's great. But I think we really have to be cognizant on, really under promising and over delivering over the next little while, because, it's very easy to throw, a few more things into the barrel that sound exciting and that you want to be part of because the people are passionate about it, but then do it half-assed and then not be able to actually fully deliver on it and just now ruin your summer with having these expectations and priorities that you thought were going to be really great. But then when it came down to actually doing the work, took away from what your actual priorities are for personal and business life.
Yeah, and it goes back to what we were talking about a few weeks ago about the whole guilt and blame and shame. If we say yes to all these things, it feels good to be able to say yes, but then it feels real shitty when you don't deliver on it. When you, like you said, you half-ass it. So it's do way less. I would say do way less half-assing and way more full-assing on less things, right?
Totally.
That you can quote me on that. Less half-assing on many things, more full-assing on fewer things. But so yeah, and that's that's a big one is for me. One of the activities that we always do, and we haven't really gone through it too much, is the idea of the 90-day sprint. And this is for me anytime I want to really just tighten up my business. I used to do it all the time when I was, in my corporate job. And then when I started my business, I forgot about that I used to do it. And then I started doing it. And I do it probably a couple times a year where I just say, fuck it. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick, my major goal, that major project. And in that, I'm going to pick the 3 major priorities for that project. And then the activities that need to be associated to all those priorities. And just like you were saying, Avram, is now I schedule those into the calendar. Now, when we set that goal, is what we're saying is that anything else that doesn't align with that goal, we bump it to the next quarter. And most stuff that you have on your plate can probably wait a few months. But if you just absolutely went after one goal and one thing and set those priorities, you'd crush it. And so I find that every time I do that, I get hyper focused on the thing that I need. And there's a lot of really sort of extra things that happen because of that process. So it's really, really cool how that sort of switches up. So yeah. And I think I saw Mike just join. Mike Vardy, join us, baby. Mike's a stud. So he can jump in. That'd be great. But yeah, so that 90-day sprint, that's something that really, really helps me is just to get focused. I did that when I was doing blogging. I blogged every day for 90 days and absolutely reframed my whole business. And so, we do it like if I'm going to launch a business, do anything, just absolutely go after it. I'm going to welcome Mike to the show too. Yeah, baby.
Hey, how you doing?
Mr. Vardy, what's going on?
10-minute tidy either.
Yeah.
I'm doing well.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to join you for a little bit here. I got to pick up the kids in the next few minutes, so I can't stick around for too long. But
cool. Do you have any whiskey on you or no?
I don't, because I got to go to a school to pick up children.
You know what?
That's all right.
That's why I'm not
Mike, we're all talking about priorities here. So
that's why they don't allow me to the school, because I always just show up with a glass of whiskey.
You know what? I've got a nice bourbon collection upstairs that I would normally take part in, but maybe next week.
You bet. So anybody that does
isn't there like Uber for kid pickup now? Like they haven't expanded into that realm?
Not quite yet. Although my son would love that, because even though we're 5 minutes from the school to our house, he still wants to get a ride home every single day. It's quite hilarious.
Well, a private car showing up might be kind of cool. It'll elevate his status at school. So, you could sit in the back drinking a glass of scotch and picking your son up. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm just ideas.
I think we got a business op here, boys, because we need more things to do. That's what we're talking about today. Let's add more projects to the plate. I want to welcome Mike. Mike is the productivityist. I met you in January, just as you were right on this hell month of cleansing.
Yep.
And but yeah, you rocked it out at the Soho event, talking about productivity and just exactly this is spring cleaning your business. So I know you don't have much time, but throw your ideas at this thing. Just drop some knowledge on us.
Well, I think when it comes to one of the things that I've done recently is there's that famous getting things done methodology, which I'm sure many of you have heard of. I don't adhere to that in its pure sense anymore. I have my own methodology that I use, but one of the things that I do is I have a task management application, and anything that I capture that I don't put a date on, I used to just call it like a no date filter. So I didn't really give it any kind of trigger to make any changes with it. And what I've done is I've been reading a lot of minimalism books lately. My friend Joshua Becker's got a new book coming out called The More of Less. And when I was down in Austin, there was an event called Think Better, Live Better. And Courtney Carver, who got me into the Whole30, which you said, you aptly put, was the health program that I was on. I'm now actually able to drink, because although I'm doing vegan stuff right now, I'm still able to actually have some booze. So that's fine.
Yeah.
But I renamed this no date filter. I called it my capture closet. So what it is it's all the ideas that I have and everything that I'm throwing out, all the tasks that I've never really set a date to. And I review that basically once every couple of weeks. So I actually have a task as review your capture closet. And I think that what a lot of people do is they overcommit. They'll when you're trying to clean up your business, you want to put a date on it because you want to see it. And I know that you mentioned that you want to put it in your calendar. And I think that getting something dated is important when you're ready to actually take action on it, when you're ready to make it a realized objective. Until then, I think you need to regularly review it and decide either A, is this something I need to do? Is this something I want to do? Or is this something I ought to do? And we often get stuck in this ought to do phase. Like, hey, and that's where there's no value. There's no value in the ought to do stuff. It's either a need or a want. So when I look at this capture closet, I've got stuff in there from, it's kind of like cleaning your closet at home. One trick that I learned from Lifehacker was when you're going through a seasonal change, you take your hangers and you put them hook side out. And then every time you wear it, you put the hanger back the other way, because our brains are wired to think that you wear all that stuff all the time. And then it turns around that when the season's done, you maybe didn't wear those 20 of those things. Same thing with these ideas. So what I do is in my task manager, when I review them, is I put the date as a comment. This is when I last looked at it. And that gives me a mental look of, okay, you know what? This idea to work on this particular book or this particular idea, this is 4 months old, or this is a year old. I've reviewed it a bunch of times. I've not taken action on it. Is it time to cut it loose? Or is it time to delegate it to somebody else or find somebody else to do it? So I think when it comes to spring cleaning, there's that idea. And again, Joshua touches on this in his book, is when you're decluttering, do you want to donate it, sell it, recycle it, or throw it out? And that's kind of what you need to do with your tasks and your ideas as well, because until they become something actionable, and they only become something actionable, like you said, Joe, when you take it and say, this is the big action and what are the small measurable steps that I can do, I think that's a big part of that whole spring cleaning idea.
Yeah, no, that's super powerful, man. I love that, because, everybody's got these lists of ideas. They don't want to let go of them, but they don't know what to do with them. So they just keep stacking them up. Does that sound right?
Yeah. It's important to get them out of your head, though. That's the other thing. The opposite is what people do. It's like, oh, I'll remember that. I'll keep it in my head and won't write it. No. Your mind is meant to be a factory, not a warehouse. Get it the heck out of there. Fill it. In fact, when you do that, then what happens is you give yourself the room to daydream and to think and process. And so when you're sitting down having a whiskey on a Friday and you've just got, just chilling, you can go, oh, and then you can make some real creative ideas happen. But if you're trying to remember all the stuff that you didn't get out of your head, then it'd be like shopping at Costco and going to the receiving department to buy everything instead of going through the warehouse to buy everything, or to go to the Drake and say, I'd like a beer. And then they go, well, what kind of beer? Oh, just a beer. Okay, but let's break this down a little bit. So it's the same kind of process. So I think it's important to get it out of your head at the time, because we are not equipped. Our brains aren't equipped to make a decision as soon as we think of it. but it's also important to make sure that we review it, because it's like putting that draft of a novel away for 3 months and revisiting it later. You can look at it with a fresh set of eyes, and your situation is different. It's future proofing it, really.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think it's great to have, just put a repository of those ideas. I know, like, in front of me, I have a board that says brilliant thoughts. And so I think they're brilliant when I have an idea on this stuff, right? I just stick it up there, but then I put it into my calendar, have a look at this brilliant thoughts board, like, because otherwise it just turns into we just start to tune it out, So I remember, like, when I do it, I'll do a sticky note and I'll put it on there, and then it kind of just like it fades into nothing. Yep. And then I have to like move it more until eventually I have to put it like right inside my eyeball, because your body just tunes it out. Right.
Well, I mean, so you have to, garbage day was here in Victoria. I have garbage day in my task management application. I don't put it on my calendar because it's not a date with garbage. I want to make sure I get it out the day before. I don't make dates with garbage. So I want to have my calendar as free and clear. Like, I'm looking at my calendar right now. It's got all specific event dates and all that stuff, but it doesn't have like, hey, do this on this date. That's what my task manager is for. And then I store all my ideas in Evernote when they're initially ideas. And if they become something more, then they become actions, and then they go into my task manager. So it's important to have these staging areas instead of using this as your staging area all the time, because this isn't too reliable for that kind of stuff.
No, it's the worst. Now, is there a blog or a post or a link that we should throw up here about your stuff? Because I love your stuff. Well, where would you say people start with this?
Yeah, go to productivityist.com/start. And that's my Start Here page, and you can go to there. I have a newsletter that comes out every week, and I've written posts. If you look up Evernote in the search, you'll find like how I store ideas there. There's tons of stuff that I have there. So yeah, it's awesome that you guys are talking about this stuff. And I mean, I got a jet, but I wanted to pop by and say hi.
Hope that you came in, man. It was awesome having you, brother.
Awesome, and let's get together and have a whiskey in person soon enough. We're not too far down the road.
We're not very far along. Yeah. Let's make it happen, Captain.
Absolutely. Take care.
Okay, brother. You take care.
Bye.
Thanks, Mike. See ya.
There you go. Brought in the big guns today.
That was intense.
The end. That's it.
39 minutes in.
That's how task oriented we are. No, that's some brilliant advice, eh? Like, he's a beauty. So anybody that's watching this, definitely check him out. I heard him speak at the Soho event, and that was the first time we met, but and David knows him as well. So we've been sort of running around in the same area and have been wanting to connect with him for a while. So that's cool he showed up. So thanks, Maine. Thoughts on that, boys? Avram, what do you think about that?
I just wrote that down. I'm going to check it out, because that takes everything we were talking about and puts it on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's, and that's it. I mean, I think one of the things I remember listening to him is he just said, really batch your stuff. When I did an interview with Gabe yesterday. I don't know if you met Gabe, Curtis, but Gabe's going to he did a class for me on my site, and one of the things he talked about is when the Model T was invented, the whole idea of batch processing. He looked at when Henry Ford went to he went to a slaughterhouse, a meat processing facility, and he saw how they were doing. They put all these like tasks together, and that's what allowed them to make the Model T from taking a month to being able to produce one every day by putting these processes together. So that's one of the things I know Mike talked about in his presentation, was to say, what are those tasks that are similar that we could put together, because then we don't have to do that multitasking. Because I think we've talked about before, two things happen. We have to do goal activation. So we switch off our goal for this, put on our goal for that. Or we have to do the rule activation, which changes the rules for how we do things, changes from here to here. And so those micro switches in our brain cause us all this lost productivity. And so for me, like in my business, I do training, consulting, and coaching. And all three of those require me to play a different role for my clients. So if I'm doing if I put my consulting hat on, we're really looking at the strategy side, and we're really digging deep and looking at the cause and effect and taking a step back. But on the coaching, and I'm giving advice, right? But on the coaching side, it's much more questions and pulling stuff out of people. So it's totally two different roles that you play. But if I go from a consulting to a coaching to a training type thing every hour, I feel like I'm like split personality disorder. So I try and put my coaching tasks together, my training tasks. If I'm going to be writing, I try and do 3 hours of writing block so that all goes together. If I'm going to drink, hey, it's Friday. Friday's drinking day. Friday's a lot more of a lighter day for me, so I can get caught up and do things. So I'm prepared for Whiskey Friday, because if I had to jump from very serious stuff on Friday morning to this, I'd probably lose my mind, and I'd probably just drink way more than I do, right? So
This just gave me some great ideas, because, you know, even with what I do, there's some days that I deliver training, and some days that I have to do programming work, and some days do other kind of work. And so what this basically tells me is I should have one day where I tell people, you need training, it's this day, or set up certain days for that, and just stick within that framework.
Yeah. And it's nice, because if you get your mind, like we talk a lot about mindset and intention and energy, if you get your mind in the right place for your tasks, and we talk about, you know, the Mihai's Sixth Sense Mihai, that book, The Flow, you know, that talks about getting into that state of flow. And if we can get our mind, and so when I do coaching, if I do like 4 or 5 back-to-back coaching sessions, I get in this, it's almost like I'm floating, because I get to get in really cool conversations that almost build on each other. And it gets that thing. If I'm doing technical stuff, like I was doing some video editing stuff today, which I really love, that goes in hand with other technical stuff. But if I then also have to switch into a sales call in the middle of doing video editing, I'd have to shoot myself in the face, right? Because it's just so different of things. And I'm like, oh yeah. And it stresses me out. So I know, Curtis, you've been working on some of that stuff too, switching between different projects. What are some of the things that you're doing to make that work?
Well, I'll give you one example just to highlight something maybe some of us haven't talked about yet, is that, you know, I'm really big on personal and spiritual development, and I do enjoy that throughout the day. And, you know, I do love just saying, you know what, that's it for today. I'm going to be doing my reading, or just going to enjoy this moment, or whatever it is. And that's important. But what I found was, when I used to do that, a lot of times it would be missed. And then I would start feeling, you know, guilty or behind, or like, you know, reinforcing all these things that the reason I'm doing personal and spiritual development is to get away from that. And I'm creating another item line in my task priorities that is causing negative feelings in my life. You know, so I had to literally just say, I have a day, and every Wednesday is my day off for spiritual and personal development. And that's my day. So, you know, it might not fit in everybody's schedule, but it's in mine. And so that's just the reality of how I do business. If things are an emergency, well, okay, they're emergency, but what I've set my schedule for personal and spiritual development is the absolute priority. And everything else, you know, I turn off my phone, I put it into silent mode. And then that's just the way it is. I mean, sometimes people can't get a hold of you. That's reality of life. It can't be the way like this forever, where it gets to a point where, you know I can get a hold of Joe 24/7, and he's really great at that, but then gets completely ineffective because he has no personal life, because I can call him at any time saying, hey, Joe, I need your help with this. And you're like, okay, this could probably wait. And it can, but it's just that, you know, I'm trying to mold you into my schedule now, as opposed to, you know, and then it's not a healthy relationship. And then you have an unbalanced relationship with your clients and with your friends and with your family and everything else. Like, you know, this is not rocket science, but it is very difficult to hold your boundaries with people, I find, at least for myself. So I'm not sure what you guys do about that, but yeah, I would encourage you to do like I do, just take a whole day and concentrate on your own personal and spiritual development, and give it a priority in your life. And then you can actually say you get it done. And then if the whole week was super busy and slammed and you never had a time to have a little bit of reading, you don't get to finish that week and say, you know what, man, I'm not investing myself at all. I'm just giving everything to everyone else.
Yeah. And you know what, that's great. I mean, I think that was something along the lines of what Mike was talking about on his session when I watched him is so, you know, choosing each day for a specific thing. And also, I think whether it's you, because some people say, oh, it's easy if you have your own business, but it's also the same. Like when I was doing like my corporate job, is I would try and really customize my days to say, you know, today is going to be the day where I do these things, and these days are going to be for this. Now, for my business, I'm similar to you, as I've created Monday as almost not a flex day, but Monday is like my optional. I'm not going to do anything today day. And so like I've given but it took a long time to give myself permission to not do things, because it was always feeling guilty about not working 24 hours a day. And once we get away from that, I think it's a big release, I know, for me. So like Monday comes around and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm just going to kind of relax. And while everybody else is like going, oh my God, it's Monday. I'm like, no, it's good. Sometimes I hit the ground running on Monday and sometimes I don't. but because I've given myself permission, it's great. And same thing that's why I kind of give myself permission on Mondays and Fridays. So I only have like 3-day week, but I'm usually working like 7 days a week. Because I love the stuff that I'm doing. But giving yourself that, like your permission and taking ownership is huge. And I know even if you're in a job, I used to make sure that specific days, like in the mornings, were my planning days, or, these were the days I really wanted to nail this thing, or, these are the days I'm going to do my writing or this. And by doing that, because otherwise, whether it's your personal or your professional, days will just blend into days, and you're just a victim of your own calendar. And you basically have just given yourself, like Avram, you were saying, just giving yourself more jobs. And especially if you start a business, you've just created a bunch of work for yourself.
Yeah. And make sure that, you explain this to your family or your friends or people that are closest to you, because sometimes they just don't understand either, right? They're like, they're like, well, what are you doing? Like, why are you still in your pajamas at 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon watching Star Trek and or whatever? It's like, well, today was the day that I decide what I do, and for me, that is what I decided for my personal and spiritual development is what I needed. I needed not to concentrate on anything other than just something to just get some rest or whatever. So, and I think it's also healthy too, because people will do this anyways, but they'll just blame it on something else. And what they'll do is they just get sick. They'll wait until they get sick, and then they've got an excuse to sit on the couch and wait all day and watch Star Trek and then be like, oh, what's wrong? Well, I'm sick. I can't do anything else. And they're like, oh, okay, well, poor you. Like, can I make you lunch? And it's like, your special day. And that is completely opposite of way we should be on it. Why don't we just be proactive? Don't get sick. Honor yourself. Get support from your family to honor you for certain days, and have a day of the week that's just your special day. Like, this isn't weird. This is normal. This is what it was supposed to be. You don't need a birthday for your special day. And I also find too, it's interesting. Usually, some people believe this, some people don't, but I've found this in my own life. Look to see there might be a day that's kind of the hardest day for you. It just, for some reason, this changes sometimes, but it's really interesting if you go back and look to see what day you were born and what day you have issues, like a certain type of tough time. It's surprising, but for a lot of people, it's the same day. It's like, for some reason, that particular day is just it's a rebirth day, or it's just a birthing day. It's just like, it was a difficult journey, and like, it's about celebrating that with, So I had to take it to a little bit of a spiritual perspective. I love it. I haven't done it for a while, so that was my.
There you go, brought it deep, man. I must have been born on every day, because I've been hungover a lot. Avram, what do you think about that, man? What birthday? This is your birthday.
What day was I born?
What day? What's your trouble day?
Well, I was born on Sunday, and it's funny. I hate Sundays because that's like so totally, unstructured.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go, man.
What day were you born, Joe?
I have no idea.
See, it's all this personal development.
Yeah, no, I ended with a Y. No, but you, what were you saying? One of the things.
What was I saying?
No, I was going to say something. I forgot what I was going to say. It was really good, though, but you guys missed it because I was busy thinking about which day I was born. Avram, what do you think about that kind of stuff? What can you take action on right now based on some of the stuff that we're talking about? Let's pick something we're going to take action on.
Sure. Well, I would say, Curtis, that first of all, that's totally revolutionary. It's funny. I kid you not. I on my calendar, I was just looking at everything that was going on, and next week, Thursday, I put down. I labeled it as me day. Yeah. I don't do it. I don't usually do it, but I decided that I'm going to do that. So it's interesting that you brought that up. I think having that one day a week, you'll gain more productivity, and it's counterintuitive. Like, you think, if I work 18 hours a day, I'll be who knows where. But you're really fooling yourself, because you only have so much energy to give. By giving yourself that day to be creative, you're actually recharging yourself. So I'm going to try that. I'm going to put I don't know if I can allow myself to be in my pajamas that late in the day, but I can definitely use it for things that inspire me,
Yeah, whatever your me day is. I mean, Curtis just sleeps in the nude, so he just runs around naked all day. So he's all spiritual and shit. But yeah, man, whatever your day is. What's funny is my girlfriend works downtown as well, so we once in a while drive in together because my office is downtown. So we drove today, and for some reason I was up early today, and I forgot that I haven't. I think it's been probably about 4 or 5 months that I haven't really gone after my morning ritual of getting up early and reading, doing some journaling. It's just kind of fallen by the wayside because I've been busy. And one of the things I keep hearing people say, and I talk a lot about when I do coaching, is they say, oh, I need to stop doing this. I need to cut this out. I need to stop drinking or stop eating this. And we just are constantly saying, I need to stop this. And so most of the choices that people are making, whether it's their business or their personal life, is based on this like guilt, this feeling of I'm bad. I'm a bad person. I need to stop. And so my advice is always like, you don't need to stop anything. You need to make different choices. You need to choose what you want to do. And so for me, it's not about, I'm a bad person for not journaling or reading. It's that, I should stop sleeping in. It's not about stop sleeping in. It's about what do I want? Well, you know what? I really love the way I feel when I get up a bit earlier and do these things. So am I going to make the choice to do that? If you need to stop drinking, it's like, well, do I choose to, and this is the worst show for it, but do I choose to, maybe in moderation, or do I want to have some healthier habits? What are the things that I want to attract towards me instead of punishing myself for having bad habits, right? So sometimes we stop drinking for a month, not because we want to stop drinking, but because we want to see what we can do with our bodies for a month. How are we going to feel? I want to really get that energy, and I want to chase that feeling of cleanliness. And over the next 30 days, I'm going to make this really fun choice, not punish myself for bad habits. And I think when we shift that thinking, if we're having problems with our business, instead, I need to stop doing all of these things, instead saying, you know what I'm going to get really good at is choosing to do one thing. And choosing the ability to say no to other things instead of being like, I'm a bad person for multitasking. So that's my sort of big tip.
Yeah.
Stop.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. And you know what? And it's the way you phrase it too. How do you run your life? Does life happen to you, or do you happen to life? That's a different, you hit the nail right on the head, Joe. If you're going to say something like, I want to stop drinking for this period of time or whatever, and you're telling your friends, be like, oh no, you know what, guys, like I really need to cleanse right now. I'm just getting so sick, and like I've been trying this for so long and it's so terrible. Think about instead addressing it with, vibrance and efficiency of life, and saying, you know what, hey guys, I'm really excited about this. I'm doing a cleanse. I'm really trying to get, a little bit more, fitness orientated, and, understand my body a little bit more, improve my digestion, like that kind of stuff that people can be like, oh, that's exciting. I don't have to like mourn this loss with you, over, our time together. This is just something that we're going to have and be excited about. And you start inspiring others. People will be like, oh, let me know how that goes.
Yeah,
and
you have a choice? Weird, right?
Yeah, we all try to create this personal freedom in our lives. I'll tell you, the only way I ever was able to create personal freedom in my own life was to deinstitutionalize myself from the feelings of shame, guilt, and judgment from everyone, and even from myself, and give myself the freedom to choose exactly what I want anytime. And I don't really care what people think about what my choices are, and I don't even really care what my reaction to it is that I know that I need it for that time. And if it is that I want to stop drinking because I want to feel a little bit better about it, and I make that decision, it's not a terrible thing. It's a proactive thing. I'm excited. I'm vibrant in life, and that kind of attitude, I feel, is very infectious and magnetic. Yeah.
I think it would be fun, Curtis. One month we could probably do a Whiskey Friday dry month where we don't even drink, right? Because that's a choice, and it's not because we're trying to not drink, but it's like, hey, let's see what happens. I know when Ursula and I she keeps trying. That's my girlfriend. We keep trying to do all these different weird things that she wants to try. One day she's like, hey, you want to do a 2-day fast? And I'm like, no. She's like, well, let's do. And then I was like, wait a minute. Yeah, let's see what we can do with our bodies. Let's see what happens. And actually, the funny thing about that is when we start thinking about cause and effect, now that I've been able to do a fast, now I've realized that if I have like a big workshop or a speaking gig, I just fast during that day because my body actually I get more energy through that. But I also, before I learned that from a fast, that it didn't actually do damage to my body, people would be like, oh my God, you need to eat. You're going to be sick. And I'm like, no, I won't, because I know I'm not going to be sick. So that, like, those kind of choices that we make to learn about ourselves, learn about our business. If we're going to try something new in our business, let's make it a choice, not like, oh, I need to do this, or I see other people doing this stuff. So come back to the main topic. If you're wanting to clean your business, choose something. Don't feel like a victim. Take action on it. See what happens. Don't worry about the results. I think we were talking about that earlier, and just focus on the activity and have fun and enjoy the journey and enjoy the process and find joy in the mundane stuff because you chose to do it. Too many people just feel victims to the whole situation, and they bitch and moan and they're, oh, it's so hard because of this. It's so hard because of that. I'm like, no, it's hard because you just chose to make it hard. It's just stuff to do, right? It's just a day. The day keeps going by. So.
Yeah. And who wants to hang out with somebody like that? Like, really?
Nah, get him out of here. Unless you're choosing to learn about yourself by hanging out with these weird people, right?
And,
there you go.
And and totally, I'm cool with those choices too.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think it actually could progress us into a point here, just to make it clear, is that for some people, some people need accountability. Some people will never go to the gym unless they have a personal trainer that they're going to disappoint if they don't arrive. That's totally fine. And no judgment or guilt, same thing, or shame about that. If those are the systems that you choose as accountability as one of those motivators, that's more healthy than fear. It's more healthy than, other things, but always relying on those type of crutches in a way can be, it's not the evolution of the whole principle. The whole principle is that the accountability is not even into yourself. It's completely releasing all judgment, shame, guilt, fear, and saying that from a proactive, planned perspective, you choose something because you want to do it, and and you've researched it to the point where you believe that that's an important thing, aspect in your life. Period. You don't need anybody else's encouragement. You don't need anybody else's to do it with you. You don't even need to hold yourself accountable in a way where you're like, oh, if I mess this up, then I should feel guilty about it because I failed myself. Don't put those things on yourself. That's not the way to live, because that's actually a lazy way to live, because you're always relying on everybody else in the world. So then the world happens to you rather than you happening to the world. Take all the energy that it takes to be guilty and fearful and everything else in the world, and put it towards just being proactive about what you really want, and just get shit done. Just do it, and just be excited about it, and tell other people about all the shit that you're getting done, and encourage them to live the same kind of life. And I'm telling you, the success will just follow you. It's like iron fillings on a magnet. It just everything of prosperity just comes to you, whatever you want. It's amazing.
Totally, man. I'm going to kick to Avram in 1 second. I'll tell you guys a quick story. I went up for a couple of drinks with a buddy of mine the other night, and we were just talking about, he's got this project that he's launching, and he's trying to raise right now. They've raised a bit of money, quite a bit, and they've been working on it for a while. And I asked him, like, where are you at with this thing? Like, when is this launched? He's like, yeah, we still need to raise another 1.6 million. And I'm like, okay, like, what's going on? Where's that money going to come from? He's like, well, we're talking to these people, we're talking to this, but the thing is, I'm just like, I'm so busy. I'm like, do you have like another job, or what else are you working on? He's like, oh no, it's just this, but I'm super busy because I got to do this, this, and this. I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm like, you have nothing else to do except go get the money. That's your only thing, but you do like maybe 5% of your time going after that, and and then you have to go and explain to the people why, oh, it's still taking longer than it should. So we had a few more drinks, and I started to read him the riot act. And so we've got a meeting on Monday. He's like, I think I'm going to bring you on as my accountability coach. And I'm just like, because that's what we need sometimes. For me, there's all these things that are distracting me. There's all these other sexy things that I can be doing, building funnels, building this, doing that. But when the reality is what's your principal business? What's your primary thing that you're trying to do that. Like, if I just spent more time on the phone making sales calls, more time doing client calls, all of the other things would fall into place. But we end up chasing all of these other things. And so I know for me, one of the big things that I try and work with myself, with others, is say, what's the one thing we're going to work on? Let's just do that. Let's just flip the ratio of probably what it is right now. Instead of 20-80, go 80-20, and you'll see just things absolutely flip their heads. So what about Avram? What do you got going on, man?
No, I just posted, what Curtis was talking about. So that just struck a chord with the 4 agreements by Gal Miguel Ruiz. And that's the first agreement he talks about, is to be impeccable with your word and not hurt anybody or judge anybody, including yourself. So, it's a total mind shift, because once you stop judging yourself, Now all of a sudden, you give yourself permission, to do what you need to do and to not have to worry about being judged.
Yeah. Totally, man. What's up? So let's talk about your business, because today is we're wrapping up here. We're gonna come on I think, because I don't know, we took like 10 minutes to get started. So last 5 minutes here, we're talking about spring cleaning for our business. What I'm gonna go Avram, then Curtis, then I'll finish up. What's one thing, Avram, my man, that you're gonna just balls to the walls, take action on, and close a loop? Let's say in the next week or two.
So what I'm going to do in the next week or two. I actually today put a stake in the ground for a webinar that I'm going to be delivering for the medical vertical. This is for my cloud-based telephony package. So within the next 2 weeks, I have some homework to do. I need to research the medical vertical. I need to put together material for a webinar that would be conducive to converting leads. So I have my partner getting those leads, getting people signed up, and it's going to be my job to make sure that these leads convert.
Cool. So you're gonna structure that all out, just write it all down, say let's get this done, and did you give yourself a deadline for when you want to launch it?
Yes. So April 19th is going to be the webinar. So I literally have 2 weeks to get it done.
You're good to go. Good to go. I love it. Anytime I've been sort of hesitant to run a webinar, I just like that. I pick a date. And then you go for it. You're like, shit, you better get it done. So good stuff.
Now it's there. Now it's good.
Now it's it. Cool. Curtis, what about you, man?
Well, we've got our fundraiser coming up for the Food Eco District on April the 7th. So that is a week from now. So I guess it's a good one. There are some loops I need to close on that for silent auction items and stuff like that. That I'm going to just work on a little bit today. And but that's the same thing. Like, we had to decide on a date. It was a lot bigger than we've ever done in last 4 years. We've always done a little bit smaller in-salon activities. So this was definitely a lot bigger, and I wanted to do something bigger, but it was approaching April, and we have to do it for the Davina Sustainability Month. It was during that April time period. My partner, James, out in New Jersey, at the Beehive Salon, he runs an amazing event, large events, and he's been killing it with his events, and I had no excuse. So I'm like, okay, I need to just do it. So I found some partnerships. I picked it with some great teams, like with the Young Entrepreneur Society and with the Food Eco District through the Synergy Sustainability Institute, and just picked a date and just said, okay, this is it. This is when we're going to do it. And it's 4 weeks from now, but it's a 100-person event, and we need to get food, we need to get beer sponsors, we need to get music, and we just need to, to get it done. So, it's working, and it's we've got some great people on the table there, but I do have sound auction and our music for the evening. I have to close the loops on those things and just keep it, nice and tight and ready to go, so that we can just concentrate on finishing up the last round of ticket sales. Very
cool. Awesome, man. That's cool. What we'll talk after what I can help you out with, because I already got my ticket. I'm ready to go.
Yeah.
For me, I've just put together this program that I'm doing, the sales conversation roadmap. We were talking about that. I'll be launching that. So right now, I mean, what I try and do is batch all this stuff together and tell a whole bunch of people about it. So I have a big client that I'm going to do a big session with in 3 weeks in Niagara Falls. So I'll be going out there. And so I'm building all the material for that, which then I'll turn all that material into videos and into lessons, launch them in the academy. So that's kind of what I'm trying to put all of these so I can repurpose everything that I'm doing. So I do it once and then reuse it all the time. And then I'm building my group coaching program off of that too. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, if I can finish that one program, I can use it in about 4 different spots and really sell the shit out of it. So that's pretty cool. I've got a couple, and then just working on that Sales Hero Academy, getting a couple more interviews done. It's really nice to have some experts come in and just then break what they taught down into modules so people can use it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Those are the only 2 things I'm focusing on, is finishing that program. Once that's done, then I can sell the shit out of it. But if I don't finish it, then it just sits there unfinished. And I just tell people about this thing that I wish I was doing. Just like when people are like going to be, I'm quitting smoking or I'm starting a business, it's not a thing till you say, this is what it is. Right. So I'm building that program. It's going to be done very, very soon. So that's my thing. Hope that, we kind of went all over the place today, but that's part of it. But I think the big thing for spring cleaning for our business is to pick one thing, go after it, really make sure that, we give ourselves permission also to relax. Like Curtis was saying, give yourself that time. Spring is, it's not, we're moving into summer. People are going to relax. Don't feel guilty at how hard you work and don't feel guilty at how not hard you're working, but pick something, schedule it out, have your ideas, put them somewhere and just give yourself the flexibility to grow long-term. And I think that's the big message for the day. I want to thank Avram for joining us.
Cheers
and my man Curtis is always doing this. I'm going to pause. I'm going to stop the recording. This will go up online and then we'll keep chatting. So thanks guys for hanging out with us today on the Whiskey Friday.